Good morning. Good to see y'all here this morning. Raise your hand if you had fun in the snow yesterday. Raise your hand if you just looked at it. It all counts. It all counts. Yeah. I don't think we have any visitors here this morning, but if there are any visitors, there's the visitor card in front of you. Fill it out and let us know who you are. The lovely, lovely flower arrangement is the same one we had last week because we didn't have anybody to have for this week. And I said, please, let's not spend any money just in case we don't get to come. But it still looks good this week, as it has for several years now. Let's see, birthdays this week. How about that? We've got a birthday girl here today. We have Miss Angie Cash. We have Janie Stout, who is Alice's friend, and she is having a birthday today. Mary Allen. We have two birthday girls here. Well, we're not through yet. We ain't through yet. Alina Labrato, she's not here, but we can sing anyway. She's probably listening. And Patrick Ellington on the 17th. So here we go. Get ready to sing. Very lovely singing, very lovely singing. We will have our family night this coming Saturday night where Gaither is going to help bang into our hard heads what we should be doing in case of an emergency, all kinds of emergencies. Gaither, you want to say anything else about it?
Please come, soup will be great.
There you go, it will be. And we have soup and sandwiches lined up. If I could have about 3 or 4 more people say that they could bring a dessert, that would be good. We would have a good variety. But it starts at 6, and just bring your tummies and your brains and the rest of your body with you. There is a flower calendar up, and there are several places that are already filled in, but if you have a special date you want to honor somebody with, please do that. It's in the hallway as you go back out this way. And we have Bible study this week. We had to change our Christian Ed Committee meeting to this week, and we're going to have it this week. And Quaker Men will meet next Sunday. Any other announcements? All right. How about grabbing that hymnal, and we'll turn to hymn number 76, Oh, for 1,000 tongues.
be me and there we go, comes me and a couple, a few people. Gosh, it's amazing. This is the kind of place that this is, that people will go through the snowbanks. They'll do what is required. So what a blessing that is to be able to be here. And are there other folks we need to hold in the light this morning? Yep.
I got a call from Claire Wilson this morning, and Amelia is in the emergency room in the hospital down near where they live, and now she lives in Garland, North Carolina, which I guess the biggest town closest to her might be Fayetteville, and she's been having some real severe headaches. And so now they're running a lot of tests to see what is causing the headaches. They told Amelia they wanted to admit her, and she said, let's do a few more tests first. She wants to go back, that's her, yeah, and she wants to go back home. And if I'm not mistaken, and I know Amelia and I and Joy share a birthday in September, but I believe she will be 93 this year. And so let's remember Amelia and her family, as we are part of her church family.
We have a close family friend. Leah and their daughter grew up together, and on Wednesday, the mom came home and the dad was in the bedroom on the floor, and we think it was a heart attack, but he died. She tried to give him CPR, and it didn't work. So this is the second marriage of him and her, and they were both widows the first time, and they both had 3 children, so we always called them the Brady Bunch, because he had 3, she had 3, and they remarried. But if you'll remember, Eldon is the one that passed away, and his wife's name is Pam, and their family.
Let's not forget to remember Richard Carmichael and to be held in the light.
This is not so much someone to hold in the light because I don't know the name of the person. It's more joy to share. Last Thursday afternoon, like an idiot, I decided I needed to go to the grocery store. And I didn't need bread, milk, or baby diapers. I needed doggy treats, among other things. So I thought, well, I'll just go here to Walmart, it's close. If I could have afforded it, I couldn't have bought a parking place in the Walmart parking lot. It was packed. So I thought, well, Food Lion's closer, they have a bigger parking lot. So I zipped over to Food Lion. It was just about packed too, but I did find a parking place. So I went in, and I only needed 3 things. So I purchased those 3 things, and I thought, well, I'll just go to the self-checkout. And I was standing there behind an African-American gentleman, and we started talking and joking about, in North Carolina and High Point anyway, if they say snow, the first thing everybody does is run to the store to buy bread, milk, and baby diapers. And we just chatted for a few minutes, and when it came his turn, I think he had about 3 items, put them up on the counter, scanned them, and he had told me, he said, go ahead and put your things up here. And I thought he just wanted to save time, because the store was literally packed. No, he didn't want to save time. He paid for my groceries. He scanned my groceries, put his card in, paid for mine and his. And when I picked myself up off the floor from the shock, I thanked him profusely. I offered to pay him for it. He said, no, just pay it forward. So I will be paying it forward.
Alice wanted me to name Janie in our prayers this week because today she's not been feeling well, and she has to go tomorrow to do some blood work. And it always makes the blood work go a little wacky when you've been sick for a while, and she's also afraid they won't be able to make it there, because if you've ever been to my sister Alice's house, she's way back in the woods in a winding driveway, and then she lives on Providence Church Road in Randolph County, and that doesn't get scraped well either. So prayers for Janie and Alice to be able to get to the doctor tomorrow and for her blood work to be good.
All right. Two folks that I think we need to remember in our prayers and hold in the light. First one is Barbara Jordan, who recently had this is hard for me to say, okay? So I always sort of mispronounce it. Shoulder surgery. Try to say it quick. Shoulder surgery recently, and it's going well, but she asked us to hold her in the light. And then also my friend Ken, who is Gay's partner and blessing, just hold him in the light. He's had some health concerns, and just hold him in the light, if that's all right. Are there anybody else that needs to be held in the light? All right. Well, let's just sort of gather our hearts and our spirits and our love for God and just sort of just wait for a moment and then say a prayer. Dear God, we just want to thank you so much for the blessing of being here this morning with people we care about, people we love, our spiritual family. And dear God, we just want to thank you for that blessing and that inspiration that comes across the people here to share this moment, this snowy moment, with one another. And dear God, each one of us this morning had one moment in our time here, the journey here, that we were like, whoa. And dear God, we just want to thank you for being with us at that moment, for getting us through it and making us well. Dear God, we want to hold in the light a lot of folks this morning, and dear God, you know their concerns, but we just offer them to you in prayer. And we're going to start off with Amelia, our oldest member. And we just ask you to just let her know how treasured she is, how wonderful and beautiful she is. And in just her presence and her spirit, how much she is an inspiration. And dear God, just take care of her. Take care of her, and we offer healing and hope for her and those headaches. And just take care of Claire as well, as she supports her mom. Dear God, we ask you to hold in the light Eldon, who has passed away. Dear God, we just ask you to welcome him into your kingdom and let him be a blessing to his family. Dear God, we ask you to hold Pam in the light and just let her know that she's loved and that Eldon is okay. God, we ask you to hold Richard in the light, our good friend, our Wake Forest alum. Dear God, take care of that ankle. Let him know he's going to be okay. And in any way you can let him know how much we love him, and we just can't wait for him to be with us again. Dear God, we just want to hold in the light Janie. Let her know how precious she is and how wonderful she is, and a blessing to this community. And we ask for good results for these tests to come in, and then also the ability for Alice to be able to take her to the doctor tomorrow. Just ask you to hold her in the light. And then also hold in the light Barbara, who had surgery recently, and continued healing prayers for her, as well as our good friend Ken. And just let him know how treasured and loved he is and how much a part of our community he's a part. And just that we love him. And for Gay for taking care of him. And then also, God, we just want to hold in the light those angels among us who do amazing things, who are willing to buy people's groceries and to open doors and offer a smile and a kindness to this world. Truly, they are your ministers. Inspire us as well. In your spirit we pray. Amen. All right. Hey, okay. Well, we do have more than just a couple of us here today, so ushers should not be hard to find. So could we have some ushers please come forward? Golly. All right, we got some good ushers today. One of our good friends who was clearing off the walk today, thank you, David. And Orion was helping. Thank you, bud. And Dan was here as well. Thank you for our house and grounds folks. Thank you for helping us. This emergency preparedness stuff is going to be great. You don't realize how important it is until you're in one. But let's offer a prayer. Dear God, we just want to thank you for the blessings in our life and the miracles. And one of the incredible miracles is this community for us and how we share with one another and we love one another and what a blessing that is. And we just want to thank you. In your spirit we pray. Amen.
Would the children please come forward? Do you just pull this thing out? Good morning. Glad to have you two here today. It's okay. We'll do okay. I brought something really special with me this morning. And I know it matches because it has every color in it. Randy had an Uncle Joe, and he passed away right after Christmas. And he was a very special man. I never saw him without a smile on his face, a smile that lit up the whole room. And he was always active. He rode horses. He did competitive rodeoing. What sport did he do, Randy? Bulldogging. I'm not going to demonstrate that for you, but it's a very active kind of thing. He was a truck driver, I believe, and he raised all kinds of animals on his farm. Well, when he was a young man, he went into the service and during the Korean War, and he contracted polio. And he had to go to Walter Reed Hospital to rehab and get better. Well, like I say, he's a very active kind of guy, and he couldn't keep his hands still. And so while he was in the hospital, he learned to knit. And he made looms and several scarves. I believe he made some hats too while he was doing his knitting. When he came home, he still wanted to keep doing that. He contributed the scarves to not funeral homes, they don't need them, nursing homes and children's homes, and anybody that he could get a hold of to give one to. I have several of his at the house, and at his funeral, there was a huge box of the scarves that he had made that his family asked for people to take with them so that they could remember Joe. And I wore mine today because it just makes me feel warm knowing about Joe, and it helps keep that cold off the neck. Now, Joe was one man. He did a lot of things. Don't you think in your life, now maybe not right now, that you can do a whole lot, but there are little things that you can do to make the world a brighter place right now, isn't there? What can you do? Orion, what can you think of?
Teach people how to be safe in all fire incidents.
Okay, what we're getting ready to do next week. What about you, Connor? Stop littering. That's good. Don't you like to make people laugh? Yes. That's a good thing. That's your specialty, he said. So let's go about each day trying to do what we can do to make this world a better place, just like Joe did and like a lot of other people do. All right, I think y'all are going to go do some practicing for next Saturday. We can hardly wait. Thank you. I bet I can read it a whole lot better if it's right side up. I'm going to read the scripture of Job, chapter 37, 5 through 13. Very appropriate. God's voice thunders in marvelous ways. He does great things beyond our understanding. He says to the snow, fall to the earth, and to the rain shower, be a mighty downpour, so that everyone he has made may know his work. He stops all people from their labor. The animals take cover, they remain in their dens. The tempest comes out from its chamber, the cold from the driving winds. The breath of God produces ice, and the broad waters become frozen. He loads the clouds with moisture. He scatters his lightning through them. At his direction, they swirl around over the face of the whole earth to do whatever he commands them. He brings the clouds to punish people or to water his earth and show his love. Next, we get to sing one of my two favorite hymns. Hymn number 514. The one right beside it is my other favorite hymn. So this time we're going to sing In My Heart There Rings a Melody.
looking at the daily reading from Quaker writings, ancient and modern, and I found a reading that it's for the 25th day of January, but it presents an opportunity for us to have some New Year's resolutions that we can keep. Keep the desire burning for knowledge. Appreciate what you know and marvel at what's left to learn. Read the Bible again and again. Take what is helpful to you. Choose life work that you enjoy. Figure it out and don't settle for less. A steady correspondence with friends, old and new, provides stimulation and satisfaction. Eat only when hungry and befriend yogurt. Read two new books a month for a lifetime. Build a tower of knowledge, book upon book. Be a lifetime athlete. In early years, jog from village to village. After 50, take long walks and do daily exercises. Avoid all advertising. It'll rile the blood. In the Quaker faith, with its simplicity, harmony, equality, and community, there is great power. Only living that faith releases that power. Pause before speaking to ensure that mind and mouth are connected. When someone learns that you are a Quaker and begins to lift you up on a pedestal, resist it. Friends don't belong on a pedestal. In truth, they are found moving forward, standing still, sitting on their backsides.
I forgot to mention this in Joys and Concerns, but I wanted to say it anyways. For the people up in California that have lost all their homes, for the families that are dealing with the loss that they're having to go through, for their families and for their homes, and for the people in Louisiana that have had that happen, the people still probably grieving that loss, for the 30 people that were injured. It's a sad thing that our world is coming to right now. And so please pray for everyone that is going through that, for the loss in Louisiana and California.
Gosh, I hope you forgive me. This message isn't really, it's not maybe the best thing I've ever done in a way because, well, I didn't really think we were going to have meeting today. I was sort of counting on us, having a snow day. Can a pastor hope for that? Can a music minister hope for that? Golly, when I saw that we were going to cancel Sunday school, and then I was like, oh, no. I bet if we were meeting yesterday, we would have canceled. Is that right? What do you think? Yeah, I would have. But, you never know. You just don't know when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. Or, I think if we had just gotten one more inch of snow, maybe just one more inch, and it would have made the difference. But, how many inches of snow did we have? 2 inches, or was it 2? I think I've heard different reports. So I heard somebody say 2. I thought it was maybe 2 or 3. Somebody said 4 or 5. Anybody have anything like that at their house? Golly. Well, I knew up coming to it, people said that we were going to have, I heard reports from 1 to 8 inches of snow. I mean, everybody had a different opinion. And it's sort of interesting that you really never know how much you're going to get. I remember I was walking around a little bit in the neighborhood, and here I did see a snowman. Did anybody see any snowmen around? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, well, our neighborhood kids did do a snowman, and I think somebody said it was more like a snow stump. It had a little toboggan on the top of it, with a little bitty thing, It was anyway, it's that kind of, but it's sort of interesting that I remember the biggest snow story that I can remember having was in the snow of 1993. Anybody remember that snow? Did y'all have snow like that here? Golly. In Chattanooga, I remember I was up on Lookout Mountain, and they said we were going to have 7 or 8 inches of snow. We had 24 inches of snow on Lookout Mountain. Chattanooga got like 19 inches, but on the mountain we got 20. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, I've never even seen anything like that. It just kept coming down and down and down. And it was amazing how it just shut everything down. Completely shut everything down. And for a moment, it just felt like you were back in time. And how it sort of drew everybody out of their houses as we played. And I remember we built a snowman then. It was bigger than a person. You ever built one bigger than a person? Gosh, it was... You just don't know. A while back, before I came here to Deep River, I was sort of looking around for different careers, right? So I checked out teaching for a little bit and other things. One of the things I did look into, at least I called the department of this in A&T, I think, and that is I wanted to be a meteorologist. Golly. I did. I wanted to be the world's worst weatherman. The worst. But one of the things I found out when I was studying that is that, within 5 days out, the chances that a meteorologist will be able to predict accurately the weather within a few degrees and the precipitation over 5 days out, the chances that they will do that is about 20%. Because there's so many different variables involved in whether we get precipitation, how many inches we get, how warm and things like that. There's so many different variables that they cannot do that. And that within 2 weeks out, after 2 weeks beyond, it's complete guesswork. They may have patterns or whatever they're studying, but they have no idea. And it's sort of interesting to me. Is that here we can't even really predict the weather a week out. And just, there's something, I hate to say this, comforting to me about that. The fact that there are some things in this crazy old world that we cannot know. That we don't know. Maybe we'll never know it. And that really only God knows. That no matter how smart we think we are, there are just some things that we just don't get. Now, I was looking for a good scripture to go with this message today, and, it's not easy. So here's what I was thinking is I knew there was a chance that we would get snow. And so I looked up in the Bible, I said, hey, where is it in the Bible that they talk about snow? And if you can imagine, there's not a lot of places. Maybe only, half a dozen or something like that. There's not a lot. I guess, Israel in that area is not so snowy. But they do mention it a couple times. And the one book of the Bible, besides the Psalms, but the one book of the Bible that has more snow mentions than another is here in Job. Now, it's sort of interesting. I was talking to a kid a couple days ago who did not know who Job was. So I don't know. Maybe you guys don't necessarily know who Job is. But Job was a guy that was a really great guy, and God had blessed him incredibly with kids and a wife and animals and all sorts of goats and chickens and all sorts of great stuff. And what is called the accuser goes to God and says, Job. I said it. We were wondering if we would call him Job by the end of it. We did. Or I did anyway, I should say. But so Job, he says, the only reason why Job likes you is because you have blessed him. If you were to take away all those blessings, he would curse you. He'd just curse you. And so God says, all right, let's do it. And so God takes away his wife, his family. He gives him, his body starts to hurt. He takes everything away. And Job, rather than being like, all right, well, that's cool. I guess that happens. He's upset. He's saying, what's going on here? Why did God do this to me? What have I done to deserve this? And the story of Job, the book of Job, is basically a conversation, for the most part, between Job and his friends, his two friends. And his friends are saying to him again and again, they're saying, hey, man, you must have done something. What'd you do? And he was like, well, I didn't do anything. Why did God do this? And they're like, you must have. They're sort of arguing. This is going to sound crazy in a way. They're sort of arguing for karma, so to speak. That Job must have done something wrong or really rotten or really bad, and that's the way God is punishing him just as severely, just to equal exactly what he put out there. And Job is like, that's not right. I didn't do anything. That's not like that. And then God responds. Wouldn't it be great to have all these questions, like you're like, why is this going on? And actually God say, okay, you really want to know? And here I'm going to see if I can find it really quick here. This is God's response. Now, it's a lot longer than what I'm going to read, but I'm going to give you a little flavor for it if I can't I hope I don't drop anything. And it says, then the Lord, or I am, or Yahweh, spoke to Job out of the storm. And he said, who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand who marks off its dimensions. Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? Or where were the footings set? Or who laid its cornerstone? While the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy. Who shut up the... I could keep going. But you get the energy a little bit. He goes again, where were you when I did this and that and gave the horse strength and this? And just one after another, including where are the storehouses of snow and hail and all of these other things. I wanted to count all the things that Job didn't know, but I couldn't count that high. It would have been hundreds of things. All of these little things that he doesn't know. Well, when Job hears all this, he could have done a lot of different things. He could have been like, no. Or he could have been a lot. He could have done a lot. But what he does is he repents. And he says, God, I am sorry. I didn't get it. I realize that you are everything and I am nothing. Well, God forgives Job. And he tells his friends to sacrifice 7 bulls because they've been naughty. And everything works out okay. It all works out all right, okay? It works out okay. He gives Job twice as much as he had before. Twice as much. Twice as many kids. Twice as many chickens. Twice as many goats. Twice. And not only just blesses him, he lives another 140 years. End of the story. And yet I wonder sometimes if, I know it all worked out in the end and is great and is blessed and all that, but I wonder if Job didn't have a right to ask those questions. Question, why would God do that? Even though he's blessed, even though he's incredibly blessed, even at the end of the experience, would Job have been right to ask those questions? Because in some ways, I think maybe he would have been. I remember so many patients when I was a chaplain, and they would ask those kinds of questions. Like, why me? Why would God pick me for this cancer or this accident or this wreck? Why me, God? What was it about? What did I do? All those kinds of questions that and so much as a chaplain, when I hear those kinds of things, all I can say is, I don't know. A little bit like what Job got. The crazy thing is at the end of this experience, Job, he'd been through so much, and the whole idea is, would he curse God? And he doesn't. I was searching around for a story, a personal story, besides the Chattanooga one with the 24 inches. And I couldn't figure anything out. I didn't know what I was going to say. And so the crazy thing is when it snows a lot, everybody goes outside. And we're all walking around. People you never even saw, you never even think you'd see out there on the streets, are there walking around their neighborhoods. Everybody wants to see the snow, I guess. And it's so crazy. I saw a woman there that I only see her at these big events that we have in the neighborhood, and her name's Patty. And I was in a little group, and I was just trying to search for something. I said, guys, I'm trying to get a sermon ready for tomorrow. Do you have any stories about the snow, any inspiration, sort of transcendent kind of experiences or anything like that? And Patty looked at me. It's so funny. She's like, well, you do know I'm an atheist, don't you? I don't know if I'm the best person to ask. I said, I didn't ask anything about God. I said transcendent experience, something, And she said, I remember the worst storm I could ever remember in my life. She said it was like 1987 or something like that, somewhere in the 80s or whatever, and she was in Ann Arbor, Michigan. If you know where that is, Ann Arbor, Michigan. And it had snowed and snowed and snowed. And they got a blizzard one day, and it literally snowed like 15 inches or something like that. And nobody left in forever. Like nobody was even getting out of the house for days and days and days and days. And I remember, like what she said, she was like after a week or something like that, she just felt like she had to get out. No matter how hard it was or what was going on, she had to get out, go to the store or something like that. And so she got her, and she said it was a Ford Galanta. Am I saying that right? A Ford Galanta? What is it? Galant? Hold on, what is it called? A Ford Granada. Granada, that's right. All right, so a Ford Granada. Anybody ever remember those? Were they good cars? I don't know, they're pretty good. Oh no, Tom is shaking his head. I'm sorry for just. But either way, she was in one of those things, and she, you get your car out of something like it's buried in that much snow, and she got all that snow off there, and she gets out of there. She doesn't know she's getting out, and she gets out and she starts to drive to the store, and she's driving and driving and driving. And all of a sudden, when she looks in her back mirror, maybe when the rear had defrosted or whatever, she noticed that there was a cat in her back window. Somehow that cat had gotten into that car. There must have been a hole in the car, or there was, I don't know, whatever it was. There was some way that cat got into that car, and as she was driving to the store or whatever, as the car warmed up, that cat started to purr. And I guess because she was right on the stereo or whatever, a little hole, the vibration of that just filled the whole car. And it's sort of funny. She named that kitty Motor Kitty. Motor Kitty. And from then on, she had that kitty. For the next 17 years, she had that cat. So it goes to figure that even with these big snowstorms and blizzards, you may end up with a cat in your car. Don't know. All right, so I want to tell you a little bit about what I want to do this year. I don't know if I don't know if you know me well enough to know this, but I go through life with a lot of anxiety, with some depression, some real things that and like I want to change the thoughts in my head. I just noticed like the thoughts in my head of my life, and like when I'm driving, like, oh gosh, that car's too close. Or I don't trust that guy over there, right? And I just am monitoring my thoughts. And I want to change them. I want to have them be more positive and more better and just nicer. And does anybody know Grace Downs? Is anybody blessed to know Grace Downs? A old-time Quaker from Winston-Salem. A real blessing. If she's out there, God bless her. And anyway, she is such a blessing. She has the most positive, wonderful, she reminds me of somebody, but just so kind, like, today's a miracle. I want to be like Grace Downs. Isn't it amazing? Yeah, I mean, she just would go. I mean, that's what I want to be like. But it's hard because it's not necessarily natural for me. It doesn't necessarily sound right in my head. And so I was talking to Rachel about it. And I was like, gosh, how do I change my head? How do I change those thoughts in my head? And she said something to me that was really touching. She said, it's not necessarily changing those thoughts so much as knowing there's something underneath that is good. That in some ways we don't necessarily always know what's happening. We don't necessarily know the answers, but underneath it all is good. It's almost like being a mom. I mean, and I don't know, I'm not a mom. But she said to me that the anxiety that we have with our kids, all of that kind of, where you don't know the answers, and there's difficult times, and you wonder, what were they thinking? That the underneath it all, underneath all of the stuff, that these kids are good kids. And they mean well. And that everything's going to be okay. And it's not like you don't know the answers. You don't necessarily, it's just something you know in your heart. It can't be manufactured. I talked a little bit about atheists, and I don't want to pick on them too much, and I've shared this before, but as a chaplain, one of the hardest things I would see, and it doesn't matter if it's an atheist or whatever, but as somebody who is dying, who is in great pain and has no meaning for this experience. It's not a transition to the kingdom to come or anything like it. It is just pain and death and hardship and sickness. And so often you'll look at somebody like that and just they look at you with the eyes of a wounded animal. Because all they have is the pain at that moment. And they don't understand, and they don't have the answers, and they're wondering why. And I think that that's something, the blessing of walking with God, walking in the Spirit or walking in the light, is the fact that even in the midst of all the uncertainty and the fact that we don't have all the answers and we don't know where everything, that there's something beautiful underneath it. That even if we can't necessarily see it with our eyes or taste it with that God is with us. And it's going to be okay. And this is the most beautiful thing I remember hearing. It was like, belief is not hoping, but knowing. Knowing in our heart. And if we can carry that, not only at these times of our lives when we are most struggling, but throughout our lives, knowing that God is with us and that we don't necessarily have to have all the answers. We don't need to necessarily know where the snow is stored or where the foundations of the earth are. We may not know if we're going to school tomorrow. It's a big question out there, by the way. We don't even really know the weather. But we know that God has a place for us in His heart and His love. And if we wait long enough, and if the weather's just right, God will give us that very next snowman.
Let's take those words with us this week. And let's end our service with hymn number 92, Love Divine, All Loves Excelling.
Well, gosh, well, thank you for joining us this day for our worship and your prayers and your words of support. What a blessing it is. Could we gather together in prayer once more as we say farewell, but just holding God in the light. Dear God, we just want to thank you so much for bringing us together this day, in this snowy day. But you are the warmth of our hearts and our love. Dear God, we want to thank you for one another and our beautiful families that we have, and just opportunities to share with one another your love and your greatness. Dear God, we just thank you and we love you. Amen.